What's going on? I'm just saying, family. We're back with another episode after these kind of three filler games. It's about to get real though. Will, how you doing, my guy?
I'm doing well, man. Time for the home stretch of the regular season and also, SEC tournament, NCAA tournament right on the horizon as well.
March.
This is about time where it gets ramped up.
Yeah, it's almost March, and I think Tennessee kind of understands that too. I'm pretty sure Rick Barnes has been preaching that, guys. It's almost March, and it seems like they've been taking care of business over this last three-game stretch, going 3-0. What did you see? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Well, I want to focus on one game specifically, and that's Oklahoma, because one of my big gripes with this team over the course of the season has been their reluctancy to play two full halves, like and do it consecutively in the same game. Because even you go a couple of weeks ago against Kentucky, right? Like you're up 14 points on the road with 10 minutes left to go. Like you assume that you're going to come out with a win in that type of spot, but then Jacoby Gillespie only has 1 point, and Kentucky ends up coming back, winning that game in dramatic fashion. Like that's an example of not finishing a game. You did so in the same fashion against Kentucky the first time you played them, where you're up 17 points in the first half and you can't close that one out at home. So you've seen time and time again where Tennessee has either blown a lead or has kind of been, around 8, 10 points behind in the first half, but then found a way to win in the second half. Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, examples of that. Oklahoma was really the first time in SEC play where Tennessee has played two complete halves of basketball.
Yeah.
And there was a moment in the second half where it kind of started to get away from that. But for the most part, overall, Tennessee played two halves of basketball. And that's only one game, one sample size, right? But if you're able to continue that and towards the final games of the regular season, and that's a team that's trending in the right direction heading into the SEC tournament, heading into March, which I think is significant. So that Oklahoma game was a good way to look at what this team can be at their best. And that was an 89-point performance. Nate Ament, we'll talk a lot about him today because he has been so impressive
Yeah.
over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And, he was obviously big, but you got the production from those complementary performers as well, which has been another characteristic of this Tennessee team. Can you get those complementary performers? Dwayne Brown was a big performer. Felix Akpara was a big performer. And both of those guys stepped up in the absence of a JP Estrella. So it felt like against Oklahoma, there were a lot of storylines that we've watched throughout the season that all kind of culminated into a really nice outing. Can you expect that at Vanderbilt? We're going to have to see. But that Oklahoma game was specific to me because it was an example of a lot of what we've been talking about, and it all came into fruition in a good way. But to you, over this 3, 4 game stretch, what stood out to you the most?
Um, I think it's two things. I want to save the Nate, of course, because we're going to get into him together. I think one thing is taking care of the ball. I think two of SEC play lows in turnovers these past three games. I think they had seven against Oklahoma, nine came against LSU. And we're used to this team being a double-digit turnover team, and a lot of these coming from the guard play. But Jacoby is starting to understand I have to take care of the basketball. Nate is doing a lot better avoiding putting the ball on the ground as much and just being able to get to his spots and getting to those buckets in 3 to 4 dribbles instead of sizing somebody up like we're in high school because these guys are bigger, they are stronger, they are better defensively. I think taking care of the ball is really huge, and I think it's the perfect time. I wish it was a little earlier because the games might have been won if guys took care of the ball early in the SEC play. However, understanding that right now in this very moment, as we're a week before March, I think that's really big. And JP Estrella, man, I think he's just been the glue guy. He kind of reminds me of to NBA comparison that 2022 Andrew Wiggins and that Warriors run. Just he's not the MVP and he's not the dark horse best player, but you need his output on a nightly basis. And I think he's doing a really good job. His touch around the rim is phenomenal. Um, his rebounding is phenomenal. His O boards, especially, I think those are really big. And the team is going to really need that to make a run in the tournament. But those are the two biggest things I've really taken away from the last three games. And of course, Nate Ament. He finally looks like the five-star that you paid all that money to come to Tennessee. What do you like from him? What are you seeing? What is really impressive about him in his three-game run?
Yeah, real quick on Estrella before we get to Nasty Nate.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of nicknames for him these days, Jeremiah. But um, Estrella, I think is great offensively, and we've talked time and time again, and I've harped on his offensive touch. I think it's the best on the team, even though Felix Akpara kind of rivaled it
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
Oklahoma, had a couple of nice hook shots, but Estrella's touch around the rim, I think, is the best out of any of the bigs, and it's the most consistent, especially when you look in SEC play by the numbers. But my big thing with him is defensively, still haven't seen it from him, and he's a guy that is a liability at times on that side of the floor. Also, now injury is a concern too. Going to be interesting to see against Vanderbilt on Saturday if he's able to go. He was a miss against Oklahoma on Wednesday with a lower extremity issue, is what they're calling it. But I'm pretty sure it's just a foot, a fancy term for a foot. But regardless, that's a guy that missed 35 games last year, missed time this season. It's starting to kind of pile up to where one of the characteristics of JP Estrella is a guy that you might not be able to rely on to be on the court because he's not going to be healthy. So, eyeing the health of Estrella moving forward, most definitely. But I would agree. I think Estrella has been a nice, maybe not addition, but more consistent player over the last couple of weeks. But you get to Nate Ament, and it's pretty fun to talk about this guy at this point. And I told a story on the air 2 or 3 days ago regarding Nate because it was the Alabama game.
Hmm.
Tennessee goes on the road for that matchup. Charles Bediako was the big storyline, and a lot of people at that point were kind of like, I'm out on Nate Ament. I can't believe we paid this guy $3 million. I can't believe that this is a 5-star when you're comparing him to, AJ DeBonsa and Cameron Boozer and all these other really fascinating freshmen. And even we've seen more over the last couple of weeks, by the way. Darius Acuff, I think, is
Yeah.
really good.
He's a killer.
Kingston Fleming continues to wow. There's so many of them. But I feel like Nate is now becoming one of the most consistent freshmen in the country when you look at the last 2 to 3 weeks. And the numbers are representative of that. Ament scored 16 plus in Tennessee's last 11 outings with 22 plus in 7 and 28 plus in 4. And during that 11 game span, he's averaging 22.8 points per game on 45.2% shooting, 39% from three, and a
Yeah.
key number, 85%
From
from the
free
free
throw
throw
line.
line.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's another, thing that has been an issue for this team throughout the season, free throw shooting. It's been better as of late, but a big reason why is because Nate Ament's getting to the foul line. He's taking it to the basket, but he's also taking on the physicality. And I think that's the big change for him. And what I've noticed is that he's now embracing the physicality, because I think early on in the season, and even in SEC play, teams were going after him. Let's
Yeah, they
like
were.
let's get a little physical with him, knock him off his game. And Texas A&M was one of the first times I really noticed that he was starting to get comfortable with it. Ole Miss was another example of that as well, to where there was a moment in that game where Ole Miss kind of bodied him up on the baseline, knocked him to the ground, started a little bit of a scuffle. And in that second half, Nate just started attacking them. It was AJ Storr was defending him for 2 or 3 possessions in a row. And Ament was like, get this, little guy off me. Let's go to work. And I think that confidence has been huge for him. Young players in college basketball, they need some confidence. And the ones that don't have the confidence aren't going to be the ones making the plays. So I feel like he's found that confidence. He's found his groove at the free throw line by creating contact and getting to the line. But I think it's also been a product of the offense, just a lot more free flowing when you have him around the perimeter. That gives him a lot of options, right? At 6'10", there are not a lot of guys that can stay in front of that. But when you put him on the wing and kind of isolate him to where he can where he can work off the ball, off the dribble, I should say, that allows him to, take the shot on the perimeter, drive it down to the baseline where he's got that, coveted kind of pull up shot. Even some shots at the elbow
Yeah.
have been really nice. But then also just the ability to drive inside, and that then creates spacing and opportunities for other guys around him. So in short, I know that's a lot of different examples and things I've seen, but in short, he's gotten comfortable, and that's huge as we sit here in late February, getting ready for March. Because if you're not comfortable in the regular season, you're not going to be comfortable in March when the lights are the brightest. So that's what I've loved from him recently. The efficiency has seen an uptick as well. But to you, what do you make of Nasty Nate, as I'm calling him? We can maybe see Nashville Nate on Saturday, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I like Nasty Nate. That's I haven't heard that one. That one's nice. I think the biggest thing for me is honestly him shooting the ball. His volume is amazing, and he's in this 10 game stretch, like you said. I think before we were seeing him shoot like 10 shots a game or like 12 shots, but when he's getting that little 15 to 20 shots a night, shots are going to go in. Yes, he's probably going to struggle because he's still 18, he's still a young guy, but the more he's able to get his reps in and what he's used to getting in training and in practice, hey, I've shot this shot before. I know if it's not falling, it's gonna fall eventually. And like you said,
Mm-hmm.
85% from the free throw line. That is a confidence booster, whether people think or not. Just understanding, man, I was a bad free throw shooter the first 10 to 15 games of the season, but now I'm just getting my reps in, taking my time, hitting the shots, hitting my shots, hitting my shots. And like you said, against Oklahoma, 8 for 8 from the free throw line. That's huge. That's a confidence booster not only for yourself, but for the team. Hey, if the young guy can lead us, we can do the same as well. And I think Jacoby is doing a really good job of setting him up. Like he's been a great point guard. I think Zakai did the same thing with Chaz, and he did the same thing with DK. Understanding where they're most efficient on the floor, understanding the game plan that Coach Barnes has for the guy who needs to be the scorer, and where can I get him the ball the best. And I think that's Jacoby is another big attribute. Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
he's another big reason why Nate is doing really well at getting to his spots. Nate, we don't
Mm-hmm.
have you don't have to dribble 5 feet behind the 3 point arc and then get to the pull up jumper. Start with your feet inside the 3 point line. Jab step 1, 2. You're already there. You're 6'10". They're putting guys on you that are 6'6" because you're not a traditional big, and the big bigs can't move with you. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
understand, shoot over him, use your height advantage, and get to your shots. And I think that's really what he's starting to understand. And the game is just starting to feel like, wow, I can score at will, honestly. And my names do deserve to be in these big boys that you have these top five, top 10 guys. I was top three ranked in the class, and I'm here to
Mm-hmm.
stay at the end of the day. And I'm going to get drafted in June. So I think he's really starting to understand that.
Where do you put him right now in terms of those other freshmen in the country? Because and it's difficult, and honestly, it really varies by the week. Because
Yeah.
Darren Peterson right now at Kansas drives me nuts because I
I
don't
don't
know
like
what
it.
I get with.
I don't
I
like
don't
it.
know what I get from him.
Yeah.
And my thing's availability is one of the best abilities you can have. I don't know what I get with them
Yeah.
on any given night. I've never seen a guy just check out of a game. I don't want to get into his medical stuff. I don't know that, but I've never seen an 18-year-old have that many cramping issues. Is he just sitting around eating pizza and Mountain Dew all day and then going to the game? I don't like. How is he not hydrated? But Peterson's obviously a little bit different. But then you got the Darius Acuffs, who went for 49 against Alabama. What a
Nice, man.
brilliant performance that
He's
was.
insane.
And we know how good Dabonsa is, Boozer, Wagler at Illinois, Kingston Fleming at Houston. There are a lot of great names, right? Where does Nate stack up for you in terms of these 5-star freshmen?
I mean, okay. So let's just see. I'm gonna get the guys who
And
are
it could be a broad range. It
yeah,
could be a
yeah.
broad
I'm gonna
range.
give it a range. I think the guys that I can definitively say, hey, I would probably rather have him than Nate. The best, of course, we're gonna go Acuff. He's insane. He broke the freshman of the week record. He's probably gonna get another one after that 50-minute
Yeah.
performance for 50 piece almost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I look he like Fleming's a little bit better than him. But after those guys, I think Nate can go right there because I think on a week to week basis he can be better than the guy out of Illinois. I also believe that I don't like Darren Peterson as much because he can't play a full game. If we were talking about one half, then yeah, Peterson is probably better than everybody. But I don't like that. I like the fact that Nate can play 39 minutes if you do need him to. Um, so I would say right. if not top five, he's right there outside of it, depending on, like you said, on a week to week basis. But I think the more consistent he is and putting up these points and he keeps his stretch going, we can have other conversations.
Well, I think you look over the last 3 weeks. I mean, really not even 3 weeks at this point, almost getting up to a month. I mean, he's
Yeah.
averaging 23 a night, and doing so on efficient numbers. Efficiency was my big thing, I guess, as he started to kind of get rolling. And I think the Texas A&M game was like one of his first like really big coming out parties, and
Hmm.
we've seen a really dominant stretch from every since. But I wanted to see the efficiency go up, and now I'm getting the efficiency with it too. Torrigo's 9 of 17 against Oklahoma, and he's 8 of 8 at the free throw line. Like
Yeah.
that's efficient basketball. That's over 50% from the field, and 100% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
I think that is valuable because with some of these other guys, you get a high volume of shots, especially with some of these guards. Like an A-Cup, I think is great, but you get a high volume of shots. Might not always be as efficient. Now, he was efficient against Alabama, but
Yeah.
I think efficiency plays a big factor into it too. Peterson, I put to the side. I can't throw him in the same conversations as
Yeah.
this because you don't have the data to do it. But I said Thursday on the air, I'd have him top three right now, just in terms of what he has looked like in the
Yeah.
last two to
Yeah.
three
No,
weeks.
for sure. Receipt, of course.
Body, yeah, body of work over the course of the season. There are guys that are better than him, but over the last 2 to 3 weeks, name another guy right now that's
You can't
putting up 23 points on 50% shooting and really 90% from the free throw line if you're
with the
taking smaller
rebound.
samples.
With the
Yeah,
rebound too.
yeah. And I mean the big thing with him too is if I'm Nate Ament, my approach is can't no one guard me.
At
I'm
all.
6'10". Who's
Yeah.
staying in front of me? And I think that's what he was really struggling with earlier in the season. Barnes would talk about it all the time. He's putting too much pressure on himself. He's trying to be something instead of just, sizing up his opponent and being like, I'm just better than you. So I think again the confidence plays a huge role into it.
Yeah. But that I would agree with that. But now let's segue. Moving, looking ahead. In-state rival, Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. We seem to struggle there in recent
Yeah.
history. Um, Missouri at Missouri after that. We just seen Missouri really was supposed to be a blowout win against Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt has voodoo magic sometimes at the end of games. They do well at home. Then we come back home to Alabama. What are you looking forward to? Let's talk about Vanderbilt. What are you looking forward to at Vanderbilt? What can things do that Barnes can coach for and game plan for? What are you looking for from specific players to win this game?
Yeah, Vanderbilt has brought a very interesting challenge for Tennessee over the years, more so over the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Tennessee's 14-2 in the last 16 outings against the Commodores, believe it or not. But both of those setbacks were 1 point losses. It
Yeah.
was a buzzer beater in 2023, and then last year was a narrow loss in January. But Tennessee has fared well against Vanderbilt, but you've just had two painful losses that kind of sting a little bit more and stick out. But this is a really good Vanderbilt team, no doubt about it. This is the best team they've had
Yeah.
um, in a while. And just in terms of their guard play, Tyler Tanner averages 19 a night. The Tyler Nickel guy is
43% from three.
a guy that Tennessee fans will remember. He lit up Tennessee either 1 or 2 years ago, but they've got four guys that go in double digits in scoring, and this is one of the top offenses in the country. So that's going to be a big task. And one of my big keys for Tennessee traveling is taking care of the basketball, which has been better in recent weeks, but you can't allow a team like Vanderbilt in their own building coming off a loss to Missouri in the
Yeah.
midweek to heat up and get going. So I think the best way for Tennessee to avoid that is taking care of the basketball and limiting Vanderbilt's opportunities. Tennessee's got to shoot well. They've got to do their job offensively, but limiting the amount of opportunities that Vanderbilt has to run up the scoreboard, I think will benefit Tennessee because if this game gets into the 75s and above, I don't think Tennessee wins this game because Vanderbilt, that's what they like to do. They like to run up the score, and Tennessee does a good job of holding opponents under their season total.
Hmm.
But again, this is a tough spot. I hate these spots for the traveling team. Home team, ranked team, by the way, a home ranked team coming off a loss on the road in tough fashion, traveling back home to take on another top 25 level team. I hate these spots for the away team. I hate it for Tennessee. But I think the best way for them to come out on top is A, take care of the basketball, and then B, you're going to have to get Nate Ament to continue to be the player he's been. I think you need Gillespie to be efficient because even against Oklahoma, I mean, he had 8 steals, which was an SEC record. You know, the second most steals ever recorded by a SEC player in an SEC competition. But the shot selection and the shot percentage wasn't there. You need both those guys to be big, and then you got Jalen Carey in this game too. You know where Jalen Carey went last year?
Yeah.
That's Vanderbilt. And it's weird because Carey averaged 16 points and 9 rebounds against Tennessee in the 2 outings last season. Hasn't necessarily done that consistently this year for us. But my big thing with Carey is I don't want him to get overwhelmed or try to do too much. Don't make this game about you. Make it about the team
Yeah.
because we know how Carey is. I mean, he's a good rebounder on the offensive glass, but my gosh, he is Angel Reese trying to put that ball back in the cup. So you don't want to have him overtake this game. But overall, really good Vanderbilt team, good offense. Tennessee's going to have to take care of the basketball. Going to have to get Nasty Nate and Jacoby of all trades involved. And finally, Jalen Carey, keying in on him because I don't want him to try to do too much in this one. What about you?
I think my concern isn't really offense in this game. I think somehow, some way, Tennessee will continue this type of flow that they have right now. I think the biggest thing is defense. Like you said, Vanderbilt is coming out. They're going to be tenacious. Honestly, we just had a bad loss. We almost won that. Tyler Turner almost made an insane, one of the best game winners of my life I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to come out with some heat. This is an in-state rival. Um, we're back at home. We win these games. We won, and in recent history, we won these games. So let's protect home floor, bounce back, don't go 0-2 in a week. I think the biggest thing, Bishop, you're gonna have Tyler Tanner. It may be hard to slow him down. He's a guy. He's a really good guy. I think
Mm-hmm.
stopping his penetration of the defense is going to be really good. Make them score the basketball in the late shot clock. If we waste 20 to 22 seconds of the shot clock and they score in the last 8 seconds, pat them on the butt. Hell of a job. But if they're getting out off of rebounds and pushing the basketball, Tyler Nichols spotting up for a three or getting into a Cherokee because he's a really good three-point shooter as well, or Tyler Turner penetrating going to the bucket for and ones possibly, Tennessee's going to be in trouble. I think the also other thing, like we said against Louisville a couple weeks back, limit 3-point shooting. These guys can shoot three. Tyler shoots 37%. Tyler Nichols shoots about 43%. Okereke is almost a 40% shooter as well. These guys can make threes. Close out, don't without fouling. That's a big thing. Close out without fouling and make them shoot tough jumpers and force the jumpers instead of giving them wide open looks off a ball movement. I think, and like you said, taking care of the ball. I think with those 2 to 3 things, Tennessee will have a really good chance of winning this game because I don't think anybody on Vanderbilt can guard Nate Ament. And if Jacoby steps up and gets hot early and hits his threes, then Tennessee will be cooking.
Well, there haven't been many players in the country that have been able to stay in front of Ament, and you anticipate with the way he's playing right now that no one's going to be able to do that for Vanderbilt either. Another guy for Vandy I want to mention though is Deuce Miles,
Yeah, he's
a
good. He's good.
transfer from Oklahoma.
Mhm.
Now he has missed 8 games this year. We'll see if he's a go on Saturday, but he's a guy that Tennessee recruited out of the portal, and if it weren't for Nate Ament coming on board, Tennessee might have been a little bit more aggressive in their pursuit for Miles, but he's another really good player too, and he's a really good glue player because, like, we've talked a lot about roster formation and how this team looks in terms of just what we see. Miles would be a perfect fit on this team. Like, put him at the 2 guard alongside Gillespie. You've got a knockdown shooter, a guy that's a veteran player. Tennessee could have really used a guy like that, but Vanderbilt uses him in a big fashion as well because he is a really good player for them. And again, kind of falls into that quartet of 4 guys that can get in double digits any night, and they do so on the average. So I look for Miles in this game too. If Tennessee is able to protect the perimeter, but you mentioned Bishop Boswell. He's got to have a good defensive performance. I don't think Gillespie is going to go for 8 steals, but I'd love another strong defensive night for him too.
Yeah, I think these are the games that you taking care of business in the games you're supposed to win. The games that you were
Mm-hmm.
heavy favorites. Now you're probably going to be about even favorites right here in this spot. Can you take control of this game, especially in an away game, which isn't really an away game because I expect a lot of all fans to be in the building. However, it's still not your home floor. It's still not TBA. And right now you sit tied in the second spot of the SEC. This win kind of puts you higher, depending on what happens on Saturday for the other teams that you're tied with. You're tied with Arkansas and Alabama, with Florida sitting at the number one spot. But you win this, you 10-4 in the conference with heavy confidence going into Missouri and then coming back home to finish it off against Alabama. So I think I would consider this game uh not a must win, but I think this is a must win, especially for confidence level as far as hey, in the recent years we haven't been able to win at Vanderbilt. Let's win this game, carry it
Mm-hmm.
on to Missouri, and then let's go back home and take care of business before March and before the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament as well. I think it's something that I'm definitely gonna be looking to watch and just see what's the reason that this team wins or loses this game on Saturday.
Yeah, you mentioned confidence level. I'll hit you with something here in a moment, but you talk about the standings. Tennessee right now second in the SEC, tied, of course, but you'd have the tiebreaker at the moment over in Alabama.
Mhm.
Arkansas would have it over you, so you'd be a 3 seed. But when you look at the final 5 games, you got 4 quad 1 opportunities. That's
Yeah.
Vanderbilt on Saturday, Missouri in the midweek next week, Alabama at home on Saturday, next Saturday. South Carolina is a bye game, and then you have Vanderbilt at home again. Those are 4 quad 1 opportunities. So even outside of the SEC, you've got 4 opportunities to move up the seed line in the NCAA tournament. I think if Tennessee wins, if they're able to go 5-0 during this stretch, I think they go from a borderline 5 to 6 seed to a pretty comfortable 4 seed because of the wins they're able to rattle off. And if they were to do so, go 5-0 in SEC play, they'd have a better record in conference play than they did last year. And that was a team that was, towards the top of the country in overall seeding. So the opportunities are in front of you, but now it's going out and winning a game, winning each game in front of you, handling the task at hand. And that starts Saturday with Vanderbilt. But if you have aspirations to not have to go up against, one of those really interesting 5-12 games or 6-11, like 6-11 gets weird. If you move up on that 4 line, you're playing a mid-major school that doesn't have as much experience up against good teams as you do. Because that 12 seed line, you could still get interesting. The 11 seed line, you're playing a team that beat some really good teams, but had some really bad losses. You never know what you're going to get with them. So, looking at this final 5 game stretch, you mentioned confidence level. If you could rank the confidence level you have for Tennessee to win in the next 5, so for me, it would be South Carolina at number 1, most confident. I'm not worried about that one. The only time I hear about South Carolina this season is about L. Ellis and what he said, or Eli Ellis, whatever that cat's name is, overtime elite guy. They're a bad team, so I'm not worried about that. That's number 1. I think the easiest opportunity is against South Carolina. 2, I'd go Vanderbilt at home
Yeah.
on senior day, final game of the season. We'll see how this game unfolds Saturday. But even though I don't love the matchup against Vanderbilt compared to the other team I'm about to mention, I do think it's playing at home is an easier opportunity than going on the road. Alabama will be at 3 because you're playing that one at home. Nate Oates, you have his number, even though Alabama had a couple of key guys out last time you played them. You weren't necessarily playing your best basketball at that time, and you found a way to come back from double digits and win that one. Missouri would be 4 for me because it reminds me of Ole Miss last year, a fringe NCAA tournament team and the final 2 weeks of the season at home with a late tip. I'm kind of going off the spot there, but Missouri is a good team, and they need big wins. Like they got one in the midweek against Vanderbilt, play Arkansas on Saturday, then they'll be hosting Tennessee. That's a big opportunity for them, and that could very well put them in the tournament if they get that win. So I don't love that spot. And then finally my lowest confidence is Saturday against Vanderbilt. I don't think Tennessee wins personally. I'll just go and throw that out there. But I don't like the spot because Vanderbilt's coming off of that loss in the midweek, now coming back home. That spot in general is a no go for any road team in my eyes. But I just think their offense is going to be a lot to handle. But just in terms of that 5 game stretch, the confidence level you have, for me, it's South Carolina, Vanderbilt at home, Alabama at home, Missouri on the road, Vanderbilt on Saturday on the road.
Okay. Uh, I think I would have the same list as you, except I would switch 4 and 5. South Carolina should be a no sweat. Got to win that game. You're gonna be like a 10 to 12 point favorite, so win that game. Two, I like Alabama at home. Alabama is a I think it's a 90-day difference, honestly, who they are at home versus who they are in the away games. I think Tennessee
Mm-hmm.
will have the home court advantage, plus every student will probably be at that game. Probably I'll probably be there as well.
Yeah.
Watch that game. I like Vanderbilt at home, like you said. Um, I think Vanderbilt is the same way, a 9-day difference from a team at home versus away. However, I think they're a little bit more technically sound and don't rely on shooting 3 pointers as much as Alabama as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a little bit scarier, but should still get it done. Now, here's where things turn for me. I think Tennessee has a better chance of beating Vanderbilt in this spot than they do Missouri. I think Missouri is
Okay.
a really big trap game. Just watching their games, because I hadn't really watched Missouri basketball until as of recent. And watching that game, which wasn't even supposed to be a 1 point win, except
Yeah.
it kind of got crazy with the press at the end and stuff like that. Missouri's a really good team at home. And Mark Mitchell had it. Their best player had a really bad game. He had like probably if he had 10 points on poor shooting. He did
Yeah.
well rebounding and assisting, but he had a bad game. So I really think if he steps up and he has a big game, Missouri could be an ugly, ugly loss for the team. But I think, like you said, at Vanderbilt and Missouri, those are going to be the two hardest games for them to win. But the other ones shouldn't be as big of a sweat, especially with that home court advantage. Except South Carolina's away, but they're not a really good squad. So
Yeah. They're bad. They're not a good team. Bye game.
yeah, that should be a let's get our shots up, get our stats, and they go for 30 if you want to. Let's go home. If,
Yeah. I'm right there with you, though. But again, man, it's task at hand, opportunities await, So um, you got to go handle business.
yeah,
That's the
you do.
end of the day.
You
There are
do.
a lot of things that you still got to improve on and be more consistent with, but I think you're seeing better flashes and better signs than you were, let's say, beginning of January. Coming off that Florida loss, it was like, what is this team going to look like in
Yeah,
SEC play? Period. And now you've gotten some comfortability. And you've also racked up some important wins, like the Georgia win will come back and be an important one because that was a game that could have gone either way. The Texas A&M game was kind of the same way. That was a double overtime win
Bama,
for Tennessee.
Bama.
Bama, another one. And it also kind of makes you mad where you're like, damn, you're up 14 against Kentucky on the road and
Man,
17 against Kentucky at home. And this is like 2 wins against Kentucky. You're on like the 3 seed line right now.
you're
Like,
first in the SEC as well.
exactly. So
Or no,
handle
you.
the task at hand.
Yeah. So, oh, that well, man, those are big losses, especially with the leads. But hopefully, somehow, some way, starting Saturday, Tennessee somehow finishes the season with at least 4 wins. I think that's really possible. I expect them to drop one of these away games for sure between
Yeah.
Missouri and Vandy. But I think 4 wins and a loss is very possible for this Tennessee team. But it starts on Saturday. Um, Guess we're
Yeah, it
going to
does.
see what happens at 2 p.m. I think it's a 2 p.m. tip off, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
2 p.m. Eastern time on
Yeah.
ESPN. Dick Vitale, one of the guys on the call.
Okay. I'm excited. I haven't heard his voice a lot this season. Excited to hear that one. But yeah. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back. Hopefully, Vandy probably after the Vandy game. With more to come. Uh, this is again.